amazing artists. Today we are going to paint in our fall pumpkins that we started last time. You're gonna need some paint. You could use tempera cakes like I'm using, or you could use watercolors, or you could use any other kind of paint you have. You really just need red, yellow, and blue. You're gonna need a water cup, a paintbrush, and you might want some crayons at the end when it's dry. So I'm going, oh, and of course you need your pumpkin that you drew last time. So I'm going to take my pumpkin and we're gonna mix the colors right on the page. You don't ever wanna mix your colors in the palette because it could make your colors muddy. So I am going to get my paintbrush nice and wet. All right, so I'm gonna get my paintbrush wet and I'm gonna mix my paint right on the page. You don't ever wanna mix your paint inside your palette because it could get all of your colors muddy, and as you can see with my white, you don't want to get them muddy because then they're not any good to use. So I'm going to get my paintbrush wet and I'm going to start with yellow. You always want to start with your lightest color first. So I'm going to start with yellow and I'm going to paint in my pumpkin. I'm just going to swirl my paintbrush around on my yellow until it's nice and loaded up with color. So you can see here that my paintbrush is nice and loaded up with color, and I'm gonna paint yellow over my entire pumpkin. Now you might be thinking, but pumpkins are orange. Well, remember, we're using the primary colors to paint together the secondary colors. So you're gonna get orange in just a second. I'm gonna get a little bit more water on my paintbrush so I can get more color. Oops, I got a little into my leaves, but that's okay because I'm gonna need some yellow there too. All right, so I've got my yellow and now I'm gonna go get my red. So I'm gonna clean off my paintbrush and I'm gonna get my red, and you don't need as much of the red as you do for the yellow. So I just got a little. You can see my paintbrush isn't quite as loaded up. And I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna swirl my color around, and as you can see, it's magically turning orange. Well, maybe not magic. It's the magic of art. I'm gonna get just a little bit more red. Spread it around. Now, if you have the ability, I would let this dry for a few minutes before you go and paint the rest of your artwork. You don't wanna make it, you don't need to wait for it to be all the way dry, but you want to wait for it to be dry enough that when you paint the rest of your artwork, it doesn't bleed together. I'm going to dry my paint. I'm going to wash my paintbrush off. I'm going to fan off my artwork just a smidge. I'm not going to wait as long as I should because I know you guys need to watch the rest of this video. All right, and I'm going to clean my paintbrush off. And now I'm going to do my leaves. So for the leaves, again, you're gonna start with your lightest color. I'm gonna start with my yellow, and I'm gonna do all of my leaves yellow to start off with. Now I'm gonna wash my paintbrush off, and I'm gonna get just a little bit of blue. And I'm gonna mix them together. All right, there is my green. I think my paintbrush was maybe just a smidgen too wet. And now, oh, I forgot my stem. Oh dear. All right, there is my stem. And again, if you have the ability, you want to wait a little bit in between each layer so that it doesn't all bleed together. You can see mine is starting to bleed together a little bit right here. Well, that's not the best. All right, but you know what? If an art teacher can make mistakes, so can you, right? All right, now I'm gonna do my background. And I'm gonna do my background purple. And just like with the rest of it, you want to start with your lightest color, but in this case, our lightest color is red. All right, so I'm gonna paint in my entire background red. but I'm gonna do it in sections because my background is really big. And I don't want the paint to dry in between my layers. All right, so I've got this section of my background red. Now I'm gonna clean off my paintbrush and get some blue, and we're gonna make purple. So I'm mixing my blue right into my red to make purple. All right, and now I'm gonna go back to another section in my background. I'm doing this one in sections so that it doesn't dry on me while I'm in between colors. Oh, you can see I'm starting to bleed into my leaves. That's why it's important to wait for it to dry in between. All right, there's my purple background. All right, and now I'm gonna wait for it to dry before I add in some details with my crayons. Now that I've finished painting my pumpkin patch and it's totally dry, I might want to add in some details to really make it extra special. So some details that I might want to add in with crayon are, I might want to add in just a little bit of shadow with my green crayon around the base of the stem where it goes kind of into the pumpkin. I also might want to add some green crayon to the vine that I drew to just really bring out the vininess of it. I also could add in some things to make the leaves more realistic if I wanted to, or I could just, like the stem, shade in parts of my leaves. That would make my leaves and my vine look really, really nice. I could also do the same thing with an orange crayon. I could add in a little bit of detailing with my orange to give my texture a little bit extra nice looking color. I could also take a white crayon and add in some shininess because pumpkin skin is really kind of waxy and shiny, even though it's also bumpy. So if I wanted to take white crayon and add just a little bit of shininess to my pumpkin, just right at the whitest part where the light might hit it, that would also be something really nice. I don't have to add it to the whole pumpkin, maybe just to one side. I could take my purple and I could add a little bit of shadow to the background so that my pumpkin looks like it's sitting on something. All right, and I think those things really add just a little bit extra to my pumpkin. I'm even gonna add a little bit of purple on my pumpkin, just to give it just that little extra nice looking quality. All right, I think that looks really good. I can also do the same thing to my pumpkin patch. I can take my orange crayon and I can add in where I would have some shadow on my pumpkins from the other pumpkins. I can add in my green vines. Bring out the green in my leaf right there where it kind of didn't get super green when I was painting. Sometimes that happens when you're mixing colors right next to another color, which is why you should really wait for it to dry in between colors. All right, and I can add in some shadow in between my pumpkins and under them. And I can also add some shininess to my pumpkins. All right, well, that's really it for this project. So once you're done painting, see about adding in some extra details and how that might make your painting just go that extra mile to be extra awesome. And then you've got some fall pumpkins that you can put on display, hang on your wall, show off for Thanksgiving. All right, I hope you enjoyed it.